Okay, honors geometry. Here's one just for you. 2-4 over deductive reasoning. So, in honors class, we're going to do a little bit more with proofs than in the regular class. So, I like to go over this section with you just because it gets your mind into the the thought process of proofs. I think in regular geometry, we kind of just skim the surface on proofs, but you guys, I like to really dive deep into proofs and what they're all about. Okay, so this deductive reasoning really should just be called logical reasoning. Okay, and it's this idea of it's a process of reasoning logically from given statements or facts to a conclusion. Reasoning logically from given statements or fact to a conclusion. And again, this is all about writing proofs. This is all getting you ready for what are called proofs. Okay. And the next section, section 2.5, we're actually going to walk you through a couple proofs just to kind of get you guys feet wet into what they're really all about. Okay, so there's two laws, two logic laws that we kind of follow. The first one is called law of detachment. So the law says if the hypothesis of a true conditional is true, then the conclusion is true. So again, basically, if you have a hypothesis that's true, then your conclusion is true. And again, I don't care about the symbols. It's fine. The law of syllogism. I'm going to write in parentheses what's called the transitive property. So transitive. We're going to talk about this in section 2.5 as well, but it's this idea that if you have two conditionals, so again, let's come over here. So if it is July, then you're on summer vacation. Again, this is not a math conditional, but it's still conditional. And then the next sentence starts with, if you're on summer vacation, then you work at a smoothie shop. So notice how these two statements, they both share a conclusion and a hypothesis. It's the exact same one. Well, then what we can do is we can link the hypothesis of the first one to the conclusion of the second one. Maybe I'll do that in different color. So we can link the hypothesis of the first one to the conclusion of the second one, and that's where you get this conclusion right here. Okay, so I always like to think of this as the middleman. You cut out the middleman. I also like to think of this transitive rule as you have A to B and you have B to C. So we get rid of the B's and you have A to C. That's what the transitive rule is all about. Okay, again, cutting out the middleman. All right. Okay, so that's it for the notes. So let me do two problems with you through Edge Elastic. So the first one says use the law of detachment and the given information to make a conclusion. And then I'm just explaining to you that the square root of x icon below here, right here, that's a math type. And again, if you want to use symbols, you can use that, or you can just use the plain language. So for instance, there's going to be a triangle involved. You can just write triangle ABC instead of finding the symbol. I'm going to show you how to find the symbol because I'm making this video for you. So we are given that if a triangle is a right triangle, then the triangle has one 90-degree angle. So that's our given. And that's true, right? We all know that's what it means to be a right triangle, okay? So then we also know that triangle ABC is a right triangle. What we are saying is, hey, we have a true hypothesis. This right here, so here's the word if, right? So this is the hypothesis. Well, that's what I just told you down here. The hypothesis is true. There's a right triangle. So then this, which is the conclusion, is also going to be true, and that's what we're going to write down here. So we're going to tell you that triangle ABC must have one 90-degree angle. And that's the conclusion we're going to make. That's this thought process we're trying to get you to go through. You have this idea, and then I give you some extra information. You can then say something else about the figure we're talking about. And that's what all proofs are. It's all about taking information and saying more. So our conclusion would be, and I'm going to start with the triangle. So here's the square root of X button. I believe it's in this. So if you look, right, those are units. I think it's in this symbols one right here. And if you go to the right, so here's the triangle button. So triangle ABC. And again, because it's a right triangle, that means it has one. And again, 90 degrees I did as well in here. 90, this is the degree symbol right next to the triangle. So again, that's all in this symbols. 90-degree angle. And that's your conclusion. Okay, so again, stating one more extra thing about triangle ABC. All right, next one. It says use the law of syllogism to make a conclusion based on the given information. If two angles form a right angle, then their measures have a sum of 90 degrees. If two angles measures have a sum of 90 degrees, then they are complementary. So again, this idea of syllogism or transitivity is the fact that the first sentence ends with the fact that two angles have a sum of 90 degrees, and the second sentence begins with the fact that the two angles have measures of 90 degrees. So let's take the first part of the first sentence and let's connect it to the second part of the second sentence. And that's going to be your conclusion, this new conditional statement. So it's going to say if two angles form a right angle, and that's the first part of the first sentence, then they are complementary. The conclusion or the second part of the second sentence. And that's true, right? Again, both of those statements are true. So we just connect them to say one more true statement. All right, so you might think this is all semantics, and you're just saying the same stuff, just writing it differently. And again, sometimes in geometry, there's some nuances. So just trying to introduce you guys. All right, good luck on the homework.